Oh!
Turn. Bang!
What are you doing?
You're a Nazi.
Oh, because of the blonde hair.
You're supposed to fall over and say Mein Leben.
I don't get it.
It's Video Game History Month, so they're asking us to do this history video about...
Oh, Wolfenstein.
Not quite.
World War II?
Try again.
Oh.
Hey, fellas.
Bang!
I live!
See? That's how you die, Laika.
Nazis! History's greatest monsters. A group of right-wing fascists led by a mono-testicled Austrian bloke who decided they wanted to rule all of Europe. It worked for a while, but then a bunch of Americans and British turned up and murdered the hell out of them. Since then, the Nazis have been the quintessential human evil across all storytelling mediums. And it's easy to see why. They represent everything people hate and fear. Racism, people with funny accents, organizational skill, and snappy dressing. And though there were no shortage of films and books about how much the Nazis generally sucked, video games have also featured the fascist buggers from time to time.
So with the latest Nazi murdering simulator Wolfenstein New Order just weeks away, what better time to remind ourselves the special place that Nazis hold in our hearts.
The first instance of shooting Nazis in the face in video games was probably Wolfenstein 3D. I say probably because there are only so many times I can type Nazi into Wikipedia before human resources get involved. Wolf 3D was a game where you played Polish-American chap BJ Blazkowicz, who, angered, presumably because his parents named him after the act of fellatio, spends his time killing Nazi officers, shooting dogs, eating plates of chicken, and hoarding war gold. Almost every gamer in the 90s has played Wolfenstein 3D at some point, because the game used a shareware model, meaning the first chapter of the game was totally free, while subsequent chapters were purchasable by sending a check in the mail. It sounds like quite a lot of hassle to go to play any game, but when the final boss is Hitler in a robot suit, well, you know.
And thus started the World War II shooter, a series that invigorated and then subsequently choked the life out of the first-person shooter genre.
Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, Battlefield 1942, Mortar. So many World War II games. Hidden and Dangerous, Company of Heroes, Commandos, Brothers in Arms. Like killing Nazis with superheroes? Play Irrational Games' Freedom Force versus the Third Reich. How about killing Nazis in the air? Try 1998's Combat Flight Simulator. Like murdering Nazis with crappy gameplay? Try 2007's Hour of Victory. How about killing Nazis on the internet? Red Orchestra. Like killing Nazis with an Irish accent in France? Try The Saboteur. Or as a lady, play Velvet Assassin. There's a Nazi murdering game for everyone. For fans of dinosaurs. For Famicom owners. There are nearly as many games about shooting Nazis as there are sports games. In fact, there are so many about shooting Nazis that you might as well consider shooting Nazis a sport. You see, the great thing about Nazis is that they're evil, right? As an organization, they committed genocide. Objectively, you can kill as many of these dudes as you want and never feel bad. Sort of like zombies. And that's a lesson we've adopted with the modern war game too. It's always important to know who the bad guys are and who the good guys are. For example, this is a bad guy. I mean, sure, he might be just a kid who's confused about all the Western people invading his country and maybe, I don't know, a drone attack murdered his brother while he was at school, but he's wearing a headscarf, so obviously he's just another faceless terrorist and must die. And all these terrorists deserve to die, just like the Nazis. And that's so great about these war video games. They let us experience how awesome it must be to murder pure evil in its corporeal form. It makes us feel good, you know, like we're the good guys. And that's why the new Call of Duty looks so appealing. Did you see the new trailer? It's all about private military corporations and how they're changing the morality of war. I really can't wait to play that game because if there's one thing modern first-person shooters have done, it's handled the morally ambiguous horrors of war with a deft touch.
Sorry. You could say that games belittle the memory of wars past. You could say that games make light of the sacrifices of servicemen and women around the world today. You could easily say that games have reduced German soldiers from the 40s and Middle Eastern men into little more than comic book caricatures of evil. But what made me feel uncomfortable while researching this episode is that this had nothing to do with the fact that these are video games. Games throughout their short history have allowed us to partake in exactly the types of wars we want to play in. Games are only apathetic to the realities of war because, for the most part, so are we. The mainstream press will try and tell you that games have desensitized us to the realities of war. On the contrary, games show us exactly how society sees war. Games remind us that we are already, tragically, desensitized.